A warm welcome to all of our friends, fans, community members, participants, squad mates and viewers worldwide on various platforms. Thank you for joining us and thank you for supporting our online community here on Twitch. I had a wonderful Easter Sunday. A beautiful day out here. It was really very sunny and very, well, I nearly said very warm. It was actually quite chilly, but just beautiful clear skies, and absolutely ideal for lengthy strolls in our local area, particularly in our nature reserve, or reserves I should say in plural because we have several. And I intended to cook very nice organic chicken with vegetables, with potatoes, and with 3 or 4 different salads, but I decided to give it a miss. The reason for that was beautiful weather, and I lack vitamin D because of all of that time spent indoors during the last 6 months. So I've gone out for a lengthy stroll, been literally out the whole day, and went to Amwell Nature Reserve, which is quite far from where I live. And it's always great to go there because you can really come across beautiful birds and animals that are protected, so you wouldn't see them anywhere else. And it was just like absolutely perfect. A lengthy stroll, beautiful weather, and at the end of it all, I had a wonderful mixed grill. And that mixed grill was so beautifully made by my friends, and could barely finish it. It was so large and with generous portions and beautifully cooked. So I had really the best Easter possible. I've got to confess, and it couldn't be really more enjoyable, more entertaining than what it was. And you will know from my podcasts and my generally presence here on the channel, I'm a great outdoorsy person. I like lengthy walks and activities out in the wild, which in fact I could do to a degree during the last 12 months, but at night, and that itself was causing me lots of issues. And I've got to say, when I looked at my hands or my face due to that lack of vitamin D, I could really tell the difference. So it will take me a few weeks to get some of those sun rays and bring myself back to that degree of normality. Also, I put two together, realizing I've not been drinking any Horlicks for a little while, and I bought some Horlicks, so I will be having it once or twice a day, just really as a supplement with all the vitamins and minerals that it has. So wonderful Easter Sunday. And you know what? I had absolutely terrific time playing the Outer Worlds. I've had this game on the top of my list for quite some time, and never enough time to get in. The principle I have is I never want to be doing 2 separate massive open world games at the same time, and the Outer Worlds is one of the biggest that is out there. It is as big as Mass Effect or Skyrim or Fallout, and therefore doing 2 together, particularly if you're doing it on the first run, is definitely ill-advised. And I thought, why not really try it for the Easter weekend? In fact, I'm a bit angry with myself that I did do that, because I started that on Yakuza, which I'm really loving. But Yakuza is not really a typical open world game. It's an adventure stroke fighting stroke RPG type of title, and you are getting into the story through many sections of dialogue, plenty of characters, so it is actually compatible with the Outer Worlds. The Outer Worlds is quite similar to Fallout in its structure and concept, not surprising considering Obsidian worked on New Vegas, which is still considered by many Fallout veterans to be by far the best. And what's really beautiful about Obsidian is they've taken it a notch up, really, compared to Fallout, to Bethesda Studios. The reason for that is they spent a lot more time on the dialogue, and it is, it's great to see that when you come in and talk to certain characters, there's so many different options. You're pursuing a different character from within, right? So you can come across as polite, diplomatic, or abrasive, but you also have other questions which are tied in with the story. So sort of 5, 6, 7, 8 questions, and I'm obviously very meticulous with this because more questions you ask, greater the content you will get. And I've talked to all the characters and obviously asked all the questions and unlocked loads of extra side missions. I have to say I was astonished by the number of side missions I had right from the beginning. And they reworked the structure, and you're getting a bit of, it's not like an in-game tutorial, but there's more of a narrative thread from the moment you drop in compared to what we had before, because I remember I played the opening section while I was attending a big Infogamer event on the continent a couple of years ago, and I liked it, but I thought it was a bit challenging because I couldn't find any weapons, and there were some really quite difficult enemies out there, and they just reworked the beginning, so it's very easy to get in. It has definitely very good narrative threads. It's very easy to connect with the story, with all that's happening in the universe. It's a massive universe similar to Mass Effect. You know, there are loads of different planets and different activities and different colonies with loads of different characters experiencing all sorts of threats, and it's told beautifully. It's a masterpiece, and I don't know as to why not. Obviously quite a few people are playing it, but it didn't really take off in a fashion which you would obviously expect, considering it does have its roots with Fallout series, and a bit sad to see that. But I think maybe because it's an Xbox exclusive, and if they were to be giving it on other platforms, then surely there would be many more participants. And on the other hand, I guess you always get some people, like what we had recently with Outriders, who are very dedicated to their own favorite game, notably Destiny, Anthem, or Mass Effect, right? And then they will be quite angry if another game comes their way, which in fact they would feel is picking up bits and pieces from those titles and importing it, and they would feel it's almost like a copycat, and therefore a game which is not worth having a look. And I absolutely disagree with this, because the beauty of modern technology, and certainly the beauty amongst the many new independent developers, is in the creative skills. It's similar to what you have with great film directors like Martin Scorsese making a film, and then within a film, which usually is very lengthy, him making references to his favorite directors. In fact, with some of his films, that really kind of unsettles me to a degree, because he crams in too many. But it's not that he is just snatching them from the directors like Nicholas Ray or Abe Polonsky, but he's just picking up what was most significant, making reference to the great filmmaker, and then developing it in a completely different direction. So you can recognize the aura, but actually within that story of Scorsese's, it's got absolutely different meaning. But that's exactly what Obsidian did. And as soon as you get in, you will have the aura of Fallout, but the overall engagement with your characters and the way the story is told is significantly different. Obviously, it's a lot more in depth, and I think that itself is giving you a lot more muscle to explore the universe and talk to different characters and basically find your way in that universe for yourself. And I was really surprised, because in the first section you are entering a city which is like a distant colony, and then you're being given an option whether to support the settlers or the rebels. It's quite early in the game, and I thought obviously if you're disconnecting electricity to the settlers, you may completely eradicate them from there, because without power they will not be able to survive. They can't run the industry or anything else which they built, and therefore you're supporting the rebellion. The rebellion is there because the settlers became extremely exploitative, and they were squeezing on all the workers. There was never any rest, and people worked 14 hours a day, hardly slept, and therefore they were suffering huge casualty rate, death, illness, you name it. So it's quite interesting. When you get in there, what's important is you need to be always doing lots of manual saves. It's similar to Fallout. You've got autosave, and you've got lots of, well, that's many infinite number of manual saves, which you can obviously keep. And very important to learn how to use that, because otherwise, if you are forgetting about it, you'll be replaying certain sections, and you may not get the same sort of dialogue or the same sort of situation, depending on what you did. So, I basically decided, in view of all we gathered through the story, that it was a good idea to be supporting people who were definitely seen as underdogs, the exploited ones, people who basically left the colony or left the settlement and were going to do something which was bioorganic and eco-friendly. And I had to save everything, because in case that I caused an Armageddon, I could always go back and replay. And there was no Armageddon. In fact, I expected to be chased by all the settlers and the guards and the leaders of that community, because obviously I did wrong. I've done exactly the opposite to what the leaders asked me to do, and I didn't suffer anything unpleasant. It was just a word of caution and disappointment, and that was about it. So quite interesting, and certainly through many of these side quests you're building up a very good picture of the world and all that's happening out there. And I think different, similar and different. In No Man's Sky you have the whole galaxy to explore, and I think they're still working on these narrative threads in order to make it easy for a three-piece to come in right from the beginning in order to explore certain sections of the universe and get to know really what is there to be done. And I've gone to No Man's Sky a few times and really struggled, and I had Deployman, our community member, popping in recently saying he is basically volunteering to help me out whenever the time is right, and I said absolutely, because I'll need somebody like my Destiny veterans to help me out. That's not necessary in the Outer Worlds. They knew that if they were to be making it tricky, and I think initially it was a bit like this, I got to say, when I played for the first time, it did have the Aura of Impossibility, and that didn't seem to be popular with the gamers. People rebelled, said, well, hang on a minute, it's not really that kind of game. Also, it is not a multiplayer, so if it's not a multiplayer, then who else are you going to be bringing in? Obviously, if you're running a Twitch channel like myself, you can bring in all the other people, and your community members, they'll help you, provided they play the game. And so that, they tailored it, and they basically made the story very, very accessible. Also, what's incredible is the graphics. They really have been raised to the next-gen level. So I don't have the latest Series XS console, but I'm able to watch it on Sony Bravia. Beautiful colors, razor-sharp images, really great frame rates, probably 60 to 80, I would say, from what I gathered, and really smooth, fantastic audio. Honestly, it's like Dolby Atmos, and you really become fully part of this world. And also what I did was something which contrasts my usual gaming style. I always keep my game standing in order to avoid any back pains or muscular stiffness and that sort of thing. And I decided to be doing it in a kind of lying down position from my bed, quite close to the screen, in order to be very close to that world. And it really paid off, because I couldn't depart from the game. In fact, played it most of the time, unless I was out or doing some other bits and pieces. And so I already invested quite a bit of time during the last few days in the Outer Worlds, and I'm loving it. So what brought me back was the trailers for the latest DLC. I think it's the second DLC they released, as surprisingly one of the main characters from Halcyon gets killed, and therefore there's like a murder mystery, the whole story unraveling, similar to what you get in a film noir style game. And you need to find out basically who the assassins were, as to why she got killed, and really very, very interesting. Also did notice the change of the graphics as I watched the trailers. So when I've gone in, I realised they reworked graphics somewhat. It's just a massive, bigger, open world, beautifully inclusive and wonderfully immersive. You find yourself being like one of the characters. You really feel for the guys who are there. It doesn't have the same degree of bond like Yakuza, because Yakuza is like really highly emotional. But still, for games similar to Fallout in some of the concepts, it is remarkable, because you will not want one of your companions to be hit or hurt, and you really kind of feel for them. Maybe not in an overwhelming fashion, but still you will want to make sure that none of them get killed as you are experiencing skirmishes. And you have various difficulty levels. I've gone down the story mode because I'm very interested in the story, and any RPGs for me, they have to be very, very well story driven, otherwise I'm not really interested. And so yeah, that's been really probably the largest chunk of my Easter spent on this wonderful game. Really recommend it to everyone, and if you have any other comments and views, if you want to join in or watch it here, just send me a message, and we'll consider how to squeeze it in time-wise, because the channel's become really quite packed out with different games and titles. We have lots of new arrivals, and I will have quite a selection introduced through DRBMiller introducing, and so I'm a bit sort of pushed for time. But the big games, again, we have 3 at the moment here. We have Destiny 1 and 2 as always, we have Warzone, and we have Outriders that joined our online community of friends last week. Another game I played quite a bit, but I've got to say, I really wanted to have an early start on day 1, which was on the 1st of April incidentally, and it seemed alright, but I thought, well, I'll do not just the I won't just carry on where we left off as the demos completed, meaning level 7, level 8, whatever, so you miss out, any new viewers will miss out on the initial periods of initial section of the story, prologue, and first couple of chapters. So I thought, well, I'll start out a new character, we'll start from the beginning and therefore introduce the story to everyone literally from scratch. that didn't work because as everybody played it on 1st of April, right at the beginning there was a glitch in which I couldn't really get ammunition in order to test my weapon, and I would be like glued to a particular spot. You have to talk to Jakub if you're familiar with the game, and he tells you you need to be doing some kind of target simulation, and therefore you need to pick up your weapon, grab your ammunition, and then basically attempt to hit the targets. And that didn't work. So I tried like 3 or 4 times, didn't work at all, and I realized, hang on a minute, must be the reason that the glitch there, because everybody is wanting to play the game today on its first day of release, and that itself made me go back to my demo and then, you know, start yet again on the old character, and that worked perfectly because obviously I completed the demo. It did take me 30-40 hours, I think, generally, because I played it on PlayStation and Xbox, and there were no glitches because I was still further away from, you know, all the participants who were just literally digesting it from the very beginning. And I think they said on the first day they had about 130,000 concurrent players, which is incredible, you know, considering that people need to download, and sometimes the issues with early play, depending on what region you live in. And this is a fantastic result. They're really almost coming to the level of Destiny. Well, not really, because Destiny had about 300,000. That was Destiny 2, but still a very, very good, very, very high results. And on the list of the 10, you know, the best games that scored with the highest number of participants, Outriders already were number 3. So that was, you know, highly significant. And I need to just point out that the number of concurrent players for Destiny 2 was not from the first day. It was like the best score when you had the greatest number of participants playing it at the same time. So this is very early days for Outriders, but that glitch was slightly unsettling. So once I migrated to my old character, everything worked, and I was able to progress with ease. And you know, just like in the demo, I find the game to be absolutely terrific, wonderfully told story, beautiful environment, loads of difficult enemies, plenty of battle sequences. A game similar to Anthem, best done in co-op or in a trio. You can really progress forward more rapidly. You can also have a lot of fun with your mates. But I think because it's my first run, I was a bit hesitant to pick up anyone from, you know, the random matchmaking pool of resources. But then as I played it for a couple of hours, we were having some issues and the game was being disconnected from the server. So on the first day I was able to play quite a bit, but on the second day there were issues and I couldn't really play much of it because there was constantly continuous problems with, and certainly on Saturday it became almost unmanageable. And I did see on Twitter that team was working 24/7, forgetting about the Easter weekend, and, you know, trying to resolve all the issues. I have to say, People Can Fly had a wonderful approach to technical difficulties. They were informing everyone via Twitter on minute-by-minute basis. There were so many different messages in there, and the overall community was feeling like really supported. It was quite a significant difference to what we've seen from other major developers. And there were thousands of messages indicating that, you know, people are a bit concerned, but considering that the comms are so good and everyone knows exactly what the reason for the problems is, they will be patient. And so I've taken a decision not to stream it really for a little while, because I didn't want to be spending my time and boring everyone with, you know, just loading screens and want to get in and then get error messages, and that was very, very rife on Saturday and Sunday. And you know, so there was no point of really even trying, because as the number of participants thin out to a degree, after a week we'll have an easier ride. And also they're applying lots of patches and enabling extra servers and doing everything possible in order to make sure that the game would be working as perfectly as it should. And the other thing I have to say that very unpleasantly surprised me was the number of negative reviews that were yet again popping up through various online hubs. Is it me, or is it something else that I'm kind of unable to detect? Why is it that people are saying, not people but the reviewers, that this game is poor, it's been shoddily written, that it has the old gen graphics, that not enough work was spent on battle sequences? I find all of that completely nonsensical. And they all keep comparing this game to Destiny, because I think Destiny and Bungie probably are feeling under a bit of strain, considering that this is, I'd say, the first major fully fledged competitor compared to all the other games we've seen. They must have been relieved after Anthem failed, because Anthem was the other game that indeed was, I guess, posing a threat. And personally, I'm very unhappy about this sort of attitude, because it felt that the overall, particularly the US-based media, were completely biased against this game. And this game is a labour of love. You know, they worked on it for about 5 or 6 years. People Can Fly worked on Crackdown and also on Gears previously, and there are elements of these games certainly in Outriders which you can spot. But also it does have references to the other 3 games I mentioned already: Mass Effect, Destiny, and Anthem. So for myself, I was really shocked to see so many negative reviews of the demo, and they keep coming, you know. So obviously they didn't want to release the reviews on the first day, but after about 2 or 3 days of gameplay, and to be fair, quite a few of these reviews did have early access to the game. So, you know, it just seemed very, very strange, and I didn't find their views and ideas to be at all relevant. I generally found the game to be very entertaining, beautifully developed, and with a very good story. Obviously, I've not played the full game, but it was grabbed straight away as I came in. There was nothing seriously off-putting. There were technical issues, but we are well accustomed to all of that. Certainly with AAA blockbusters, we've seen that with any major release which has multiplayer, and most importantly, if it's cross-platform. Cross-platform is causing a lot of issues for such live services, and we've seen that during this weekend they had to be disconnecting the multiplayer several times because it was causing too many problems. So Outriders, again, another big title released last week and doing extremely well within the gaming community. You can just ignore all the negative press. I just find generally that there is so much competition out there, and some sections of the industry are completely biased. I thought they were completely biased towards Anthem. Indeed, Anthem had technical problems, but the game itself is wonderful, and if you are to be playing it today on EA Play through Xbox Game Pass, you will just enjoy it. And so many interesting missions and side quests and activities, specifically if you do them together with other 3 guys. You can work on javelin suits, you can build your own, customize every one of your characters, and, you know, have a lot of fun. I have to say, it's just ridiculous that irrespective of the fact that we can all get our own opinions to Twitter, Facebook, and all other, you know, online forums, the mainstream press is still dominating with certain views which actually can manipulate quite a lot of people. And certainly if you have a release like this one, where there are technical issues as well experienced, then you know, you'll get some people jumping on the bandwagon. I'm just very pleased to see that the vast majority of those people who are trying Outriders, particularly on Game Pass, are very happy, and they're contrasting with their own comments and views on the internet, all of that that we would have received from the major industry hubs. So anyway, I think the best description is the game which will polarize the community. You either will love it or hate it. Can't see a reason as to why you would hate it. Maybe if you play the whole game, then you'll come to maybe some repetitive elements of gameplay. But I had to play several battles many times because I was not able to neutralize the main boss or mini bosses, and I didn't find them repetitive. I found them really challenging and very, very exciting. And I've done some of them like 5 or 6 times, and still appeal to me compared to some of the other battles in other games. I'm not going to name any, where I felt it was just, you know, it was like it was the entire experience made me feel like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. I had enough. It's not really very interesting. Similar to some of the games where the replay is there in order to substitute for the lack of content. Anyway, my take on Outriders is certainly a very good and positive one. Outriders will be back, I think, on my channel from this week, and I'm just waiting to see whether all the technical issues have been resolved, because really, quite frankly, we've had quite a few premieres here with the games that didn't work, and then, you know, had messages from the community saying, what's the point of doing it? I mean, quite frankly, I was waiting for about 10-15 minutes the other day, but I knew that if they lost their server connectivity. There will be several hours before we could get back online. I think the overall feeling in the community, as far as Outriders are concerned, is the gamers want an offline mode. So if you do want to play with multiplayer, you can just play it off your console, and whether that is going to be possible or not remains to be seen. I'm sure they will respond and work on that, because generally, as we've seen, certainly during the last 5 to 6 years, ever since Twitch has been in circulation, what community members say is fundamental, because people will look at Games Radar and GameSpot and Eurogamer and all the other, online hubs. They will look at those hubs because they want to get the news. They want to be kept abreast about whatever's coming their way, like novelties, specifically the dates and what new games will be providing in terms of DLC or anything else like skins, cosmetics, etc. But people are not really wanting to get those opinions, because these guys, some of the games are very highly opinionated, and there's nothing wrong with somebody disliking a game, but I think when you are cooking up an overall attitude that tells you that one game just simply needs to fail because I've read about 3 or 4 reviews of Outriders. The worst ones were in Eurogamer and PC World, and PC World absolutely biased against the game from the beginning. I've read these reviews, and they're very lengthy, but very greatly in depth, providing us with lots of thoughts and analysis. But I didn't agree with any of it. So if you are on Xbox, then absolutely download Outriders, try the game, and jot us a line, tell us what you think, whether you feel it compares well with Destiny and Anthem, Mass Effect, whether it's original, whether it's repetitive. Maybe I'm a bit biased, I really love the wonderful big space operas and sci-fi games, and if they're properly delivered, then I'm hooked, because I think sci-fi and video gaming, they really go sort of hand in hand. So many different things you can do there, many options in terms of the narrative, the number of characters, creation of open worlds, the galaxies, and you know it all. So definitely one of the most loved genres of video gaming for myself, certainly. So yeah, so that was really my weekend. It was Outriders, it was the Outer Worlds. I've not even looked at Yakuza, and that puts me to shame, because I talked about it so much, and heard from Jeff Rubinstein. He also congratulated me for being one of those guys who's joined the club, and I will carry on with Yakuza, of course. And it was just the excitement and the content, in fact, of the Outer Worlds that really brought me in, because usually I would play maybe 2 games, play Yakuza for a little while and then go back to the Outer Worlds, or vice versa. And usually I would go for narrative-driven games first, and then I throw in the open world one, because with the open world it's much easier to walk away from different missions, have quests and sub-quests, and once you come to the end, you say, well, that's it for now. But with adventure games, there's always something else, chasing somebody, or needing to get some bits for the inventory, or you're following a story, or you really want to find out what happens next. All of that being part and parcel of your experience. And so these were the games, and this was my Easter, and certainly it was a very, very good one, thoroughly enjoyable, and I can obviously recommend this to everyone if you have a chance, if you want to have an enjoyable weekend, be it for holidays or any other. Just make sure you get a bit of, you go to your local park, walk around a bit, get some fresh air, have a good dinner, and then connect with your friends online. Really receiving that reward, a COVID warrior, the other day was of true significance, because I feel truly privileged that my channel has been providing so much support to people around the world who are stranded indoors, and some people in more kind of remote areas are struggling somewhat, and I've heard that people really enjoyed being live online. And I know that in recent weeks, due to my break, we've not had any multiplayers with our usual suspects fully on board, but that will come back. I find generally running such sessions to be fairly tiring, and I need to get my regular breaks, because otherwise I can't function. I discussed that with my Warzone Destiny community, and I told them that for myself, the absolute maximum of engagement, if I want to be doing properly as a broadcaster as well as a gamer, is 4 hours. So we can have a lot of chats and ins and outs and all this, but extending it for me is just a non-starter, because you get stroppy, you get tired, you get a bit, maybe sometimes a bit irritated with certain things, and then nothing works, and there's no point really in doing it like that. Different games affect broadcasters in various ways. Let's not get this wrong. If you're doing straightforward narrative games, RPGs and puzzlers, it's one experience. If you're doing it with others together in a live online forum within a competitive format, or I don't run a competitive channel in here, I don't want anything to do with any competitions, but the games like Apex or PUBG or Warzone, they do have the elements of competition, because you're eliminating others. You want to get ahead. You want to be as far as possible, and in terms of how long you survived, and you got your scores, and even if you're not a competitive player, you will get somebody else in your squad if you're playing obviously a 4-piece or 3-piece, if you're talking Destiny, who will want to be getting certain rewards. And I guess with Destiny it is easier, unless you're doing the Crucible, which is purely like a selection of massive big rapid death matches, because you're collecting ultimately a reward for yourself and for your mates. So if you were working a pinnacle weapon, or if you're looking for a quest, everyone's going to be getting something at the very end of a strike or a particular activity. That's not the case in games like PUBG or Warzone, Apex. It's all about coming to the very end, winning or being down to the last 2 or 3 teams, and therefore the environment gets a bit hyped up at times. And generally, as I said, I love it. I think it's wonderful that we have such games accessible every single day, and these games have become also social networks, so we can meet every single day and talk about everything, get to know the news coming from our local environment, our local community, and share our experiences, our thoughts, ideas, everything we've gone through, particularly during this dreadful period of pandemic. And then we can also play the game. I did have in my community some people who were more keen on playing the game than talking, but this channel is all about talking. It's called Gaming Dialogue, so it's plain logic. If there was no talking, then there'd be no gaming dialogue, and therefore I sort of reorganized the channel somewhat, so we have podcasts with community content, discussions and chats, and then once we go to Warzone and Apex, we're not really spending as much time doing introductions and providing Q&A sessions, although if they come in, if they're specific for that community, then indeed we can be doing it and enjoying all the attention that's given to us by our other participants and viewers, which is what we did a few times. But I think the overall idea is for the multiplayers, for the competitives, that people kind of want to come in order to crack on straight away. And that's particularly the case with more senior gamers that we have, because senior gamers will have families, they will have work, they will have other responsibilities, so they will not have an infinite number of hours in which they can obviously play a particular PvP game. And I really kind of realized that after discussing it with lots of my dedicated community veterans, because don't forget, this is not a channel for juniors. We have very, very few people who are younger than 18 having a look, let alone trying to join us, and that's because the way this channel is run, and therefore I have to be definitely on the same frequency with my friends who are working hard every day or having lots of responsibilities with their families, and therefore I have just a couple of hours a day slotted for PvP, and therefore my session has got to be providing enough time for them to talk to others as well as to play the game. So I think the questions I've had coming in were about what's the best way to spend this Easter weekend. I think yesterday we talked about our games which were instantly accessible through the new system that Xbox introduced, and that is backward compatibility and touch controls. So I'll be able to tell you today a bit more about some of the games, but it's called Play with Touch. I couldn't remember the phrase. That's the jargon. The games which are called Play with Touch, and they introduced a couple of days ago 16 new games which were instantly accessible through your Android. So it meant that you didn't really need a controller or any other devices in order to access the games. So they're working day and night to be bringing in as many older gen games, 360 games, to cloud, and therefore all the games will be instantly accessible through anyone's handset, be it their telephone or mobile phone or Android tablet. So that's fantastic, and that we talked about this quite a bit yesterday, because I thought if anyone was interested in spending a very good, great, nice section of the Easter in a local park, away from everyone, obviously fully fully safe and well, and adhering to social distancing rules, then they can just pull out their phone and then look at the games that do not require your controller. Don't forget, your controller will require recharge and batteries and everything, and the latest mobile phones will have batteries that will last you quite a bit for that sort of online gaming activity. And I talked to you yesterday about the whole selection. It's about more than 25 games that we looked at, and also the ones that were probably most suited for this weekend. So today we'll do a quick resume of all the other games available. I know I'm a bit biased towards Xbox at the moment. I've had some messages saying what's happened to PlayStation. Well, nothing's really happened. It's just that Xbox and Microsoft are providing us with many more interesting and exciting opportunities to experience gaming at the moment, as you've seen with lots of new titles being introduced to Game Pass, and many other interesting tech inventions being given to us, like for instance being able to pull out your phone and then access Perfect Dark, for instance, or any of the other older 360 games, is a truly wonderful experience. I think I want to be certainly supporting the effort of the corporation. I feel presently Sony is lagging behind, and incidentally they realize that they face quite a lot of criticism from the gaming community because they're not providing backward compatibility and a few other things. So it did appear incidentally this weekend that they are going to be introducing some elements which are very similar to what Microsoft already have. For instance, introducing AAA blockbusters to the streaming services. So we heard yesterday that Marvel's Avengers, a game that really kind of didn't have a particularly good release, will be accessible from this week on the streaming services PS Now, as well as Borderlands 3. So I'm very excited about this. It's fantastic news. These are going to be time-limited games, so you are going to be able to do them for about 3 months, I think, roughly. They've not published the cut-off date, but they will not be there indefinitely, so that's very important to remember. And if you're interested, you need to re-download them as quickly as possible and then try them as well. I can certainly tell you that I will play both games on PlayStation extensively, because Marvel Avengers I did, was it alpha or beta? I think it was beta that I played, and I loved it. It was really wonderful, and had a lot of fun. The game didn't have a particularly good release, and due to many issues from its narrative through the characters, as well as some technical issues. So this will be an ideal opportunity for me to step in and try everything, right, without actually need to pay anything else but my regular subscription, monthly subscription fee, which I pay every month. And then Borderlands 3, I played here on Xbox for quite a while when it was offered free of charge. We had like a free week, I think, and a couple of free weekends, and I'll be able to do it now on PlayStation Now, again on my monthly subscription fee, and probably complete the whole game. So that's wonderful news. And in addition to that, we also heard, what was the other thing? That they will be trying to offer many other additional things like perks, like different types of season packs and add-ons and cosmetics given to anyone who is a subscriber to PlayStation Plus services. And I've looked at it today, and I've realized that they've introduced quite a few good packs, and I was quite excited and quite happy to have downloaded all of them. What's good about PlayStation app is that you don't have to be doing anything else but just adding to your account, so keep adding all the items, all the freebies, all the games you get given every month, and as well as these add-on cosmetics and packs, and they'll stay obviously in your account, and you can, once you, let's say, downloaded Fortnite, all the packs will just immediately pop up and you'll be able to use them. So that's very good. And I think they will have to really smarten up with the number of titles and all that is on offer, because they're lagging behind. Have all the new titles introduced to Xbox. I think the feasibility of certain games will be under question mark in a longer run, because I did see on Xbox Game Pass we have quite a number of games that are bit retro, bit old, you know, old school, and lots of indie games as well. Whether those games will be attracting the same degree of interest compared to Outriders and Halos and, you know, the AAA blockbusters remains to be seen. But I think presently, as they're running a very good marketing campaign on any of the new inclusions, everyone feels compelled and you know, driven to try out whatever is on offer, and all the trailers and all the ads you get on Xbox YouTube channel are really mouth-watering. So you always want to. I mean, yeah, you know, I've downloaded quite a selection, and I could probably tell you now what the games are. Just have a look. Like, for instance, Killer Queen Black and Narita Boy are two games that probably would not look at otherwise, because they're both very old school, like the 90s style, very retro, and they're very good games, right? So through the ads and the presentations on there this week on Xbox, I was just driven to the games and downloaded them and played them quite a bit. I mean, Narita Boy in particular is a very good game. It's a bit tricky. You get many tasks that need to be completed, and you don't have in-game tutorial. It's literally like the 90s platformers. Looks and feels exactly the same, with very good music, bringing you back to the 80s, and you know, great fun. So really, I think PlayStation need to do something similar. Their presentations had improved somewhat. The latest that I watched last month was, I think, significantly better compared to the old. They had some team members of various development firms which were participating live on air and talking about the games that will be released on PlayStation. It just seemed like a proper, you know, they were getting that together. Basically, the new episodes were providing us something. I apologize for that. Suddenly there was a bit of a cough popping up. They were providing us with something more coherent and more together compared to some of the older presentations, which felt a bit like a selection of YouTube trailers without any commentary, and it was, you know, it was really appalling. Eventually, they will have to raise the bar for themselves, because Microsoft is excelling with everything on offer. I think the area of the greatest supremacy is with xCloud, because in no time xCloud will offer all the games that Microsoft ever released on all platforms, and that will be of tremendous advantage. Don't forget, lots of people who are, for instance, living in our massive big cities, Berlin, Paris, London, Moscow, and New York, LA, people who commute to work every single day, they will spend usually between 3 to 4 hours just commuting, or sometimes even longer than that. And unless they want to be reading and working as they're traveling, which is sometimes difficult if the trains are overcrowded during what we call a rush hour, they can pull out their phone and carry on with their games. And, you know, there's a variety of different games. They don't have to be games like Outriders or Destiny always. Could be puzzlers, could be adventure games, could be the ones you play on Switch with point and click. And this will provide a very, very great influx of new participants to our communities. The only thing we still need to build, or they will need to build, is a kind of a chat tool that can be attached to Game Pass platform and the app, so that people who are trying certain games, or people who are wanting to be exploring what's out there, can immediately, like on Discord, get connected to others. And I'm sure that will also come. So in my estimate, Microsoft is doing a lot better as far as the inventions are concerned. And it's just plain logic, you know. If you invested in old games during the last 20 years, you do not want to be buying them again and again. You want to be able to use them on any console, and that's exactly what they worked on. The problem with that was really more of a technical nature. It isn't that the teams at those corporations were just not keen on, you know, people using the old game instead of buying it for the second or third time. It just the tech didn't allow it. But I listened to the interviews this week on Xbox Podcast with the guys who are running the show for the corporation, and one was the executive who is the head of xCloud, and the other was a senior member of their backward compatibility team, and they talked about all these ins and outs and difficulties as experienced during the last, I think, 6 or 7 years. and you know, it was just really a very, very interesting presentation in which I realized how difficult the process actually is. When she described that for the older games, or for any games in fact, if you want to make them backward compatible, you had to go through every single item in the inventory. So think about it. Think about games like Halo or Bethesda's Morrowind. There are loads of items in that they need to go through, and they need to go through them manually. So you need to go through every single thing which is in the game, making sure it would work on the next-gen console, and obviously provide all the other technical backup which is required. So, you know, quite a task. Evidently, with some smaller, shorter games of the, older days of the Nautilus, we are going to be getting maybe less of that work. Or I should say, people will not need to spend an infinite number of hours going to the inventory, but for the biggies, it is very, very tricky. In fact, probably the best example of how this works and how it works properly is Morrowind. Morrowind is now accessible through Xbox on all platforms, and you can try it on your PC, you can try it on your Android phone, you can try it on your console, you can try it on your tablet, and then you can compare. You can see where, you know, on what platform it works the best. But I find it astonishing that we can play a Morrowind even without the controller. It's got what's it called? Play with touch controls. So you have touch controls on your screen, and you can just pull your phone out, load your app, access Morrowind, and you can crack on. And what's phenomenal is that it also has the saves from before. So if you played the game 15 years ago, then the saves will be there, and you'll be able to carry on where you left off in 2005. And that's really mind-boggling. And I think certainly for many people, I think somebody said in the podcast, I think it was Larry, it was Larry, I think, Major Nelson, right? He said, what was the game? I can't remember, it was a Fallout or Borderlands, or one of the games that he had not played for a good 15 years, and the save was there. So it was extraordinary. It was one of the 360 games. I can't actually recall the title now off the top of my head. So what we'll do now is I told you already, if you are on PlayStation, you definitely want to be getting the streaming services. You're getting Marvel's Avengers and Borderlands 3 as the new additions to the library. They have many more games compared to Xbox, and all of them are instantly accessible to the live streams, as well as some of those available through download. So make sure you are subscribed and fully enjoying all the titles. And then we also heard that with Microsoft, they're offering us a number of those backward compatibility titles through xCloud, which means you can pull out your phone or your tablet and just crack on. So the games I really thought would be very good for the Easter weekend are the games that, first of all, are already on offer. Outriders, DayZ, Gears Tactics, Gears 5, Destiny 2 Beyond Light. So I think these games probably would be topping it if you were interested in doing something together with others. All these games are multiplayers. You can bring in your mates, your community members or friends, and you can enjoy them together with them. Outriders probably the most popular at the moment, but if you're experiencing any technical issues, I can assure you, you can simply migrate to Gears 5, which is a fantastic multiplayer, one of the best multiplayers ever created, and then Destiny 2 Beyond Light with a multitude of options of what you can be doing in that wonderful, ever-evolving Destiny universe. So for myself, I had Destiny 2, I had Outer Worlds, I had Doom, Killer Queen Black, Narita Boy, Project Winter, Outriders, Yakuza 3, Super Lucky, Octopath Traveler. So these are the games I've gone through during the last 7 days. Obviously I played the Outer Worlds and Yakuza and Outriders more than others, but I also played Super Lucky quite a bit. Super Lucky is a really good game. I mean, it's a bit like walking into an animated feature film, and you become one of the characters and you enjoy everyone and everything which is in that environment. So really absolutely tip top. Play with Touch, we already recommended lots of games yesterday. From Bethesda, we had all the inclusions. So if you were asking me what games would I recommend from Bethesda, well, it's very, very hard to tell. First of all, you would have Fallout, Elder Scrolls, and Doom series. And in addition to that, you have Dishonored, you would always have Wolfenstein. But just to tell you what the titles are, The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim Special Edition, Fallout 4, The Elder Scrolls Online, Fallout 76, Doom's Eternal Standard Edition, brilliant Fallout New Vegas, Wolfenstein The New Order, The Evil Within, Oblivion, Dishonored Definitive Edition, Doom, that's the original Doom from 1993, Prey, Wolfenstein The Old Blood, Dishonored 2, Rage 2, Doom 3, Doom 2, Doom 64, Wolfenstein Youngblood, and Elder Scrolls Morrowind. Well, Elder Scrolls Morrowind I would single out as probably the best game to try on all platforms, because obviously it's the old game from the era of Xbox Original, and they reworked it completely. So it looks, it sounds, and it plays beautifully well on any one of these. So try it, and drop me a line, tell me what you think. Let me know what your experiences and feelings about the game really are if played today. And don't forget, you can load your old save if you were doing it on 360. So then, in addition to that, I can recommend you Dishonored, be it 1 or 2. I think I'll probably be biased towards the original. They're offering the definitive remastered edition. It just really is much superior to the original game. Then you have Prey. Prey is a fantastic game yet again. It's the Ultimate Edition, fully remastered for the next gen. Then you have Oblivion. Oblivion needs no introduction. One of the very best RPGs ever created. Many people tell it still Elder Scrolls series. They'll still go for Oblivion as being by far the best. And then we have Fallout New Vegas, of course, considered to be the best by many of the Fallout veterans. And of course Skyrim. We do not want to forget about Skyrim in any circumstances. If you're a driver or you like driving games, Forza Horizon 4. Another really fantastic game to be played with your friends is Sea of Thieves. I guess I'm not giving it enough exposure in here. I played quite a bit of it a few years back, and Sea of Thieves is similar to Destiny. It offers you lots of different ways to which you can engage with the game. It's always based on joint effort of everyone who is a participant, and really the best possible family-friendly game that there can be. And don't forget, if you are a veteran of Destiny, you may want to be exploring its origins. Obviously they're unrelated story-wise, but origins are with Bungie and their previous big series, Halo of course, and you must be trying then the Master Chief trilogy, the Master Chief collection I should say, and it's one of the best packages ever released on any platform. You have got to try it and you've got to experience it. And also what's mesmerizing is that just by clicking the options button on your controller, you can be switching from the old to the new. So 1 minute you can be watching the game Halo Combat Evolved in its new Destiny-like format, and if you want to be experiencing it like what we had on the original console, you click the option button again, you go back to the old. So that is just absolutely mind-boggling. And for the end, I will tell you what I consider to be probably the best selection of games for anyone who wants to be doing them together with their children and with their own family. Don't forget, lots of games, and particularly xCloud services, are geared towards the family entertainment. So, as we've heard from Jeff Rubinstein of Xbox, he doesn't have that much time to spend with his children, but when they do spend time together, they'll be able to, they are at the moment using xCloud in order to access certain games. So, they do multiplayer, and their children would pull out their phones or tablets, and he will be on his console, and they'll just all get in and play the same game. So that's definitely a very, very good way to which you can have a lot of fun, similar to the old days where parents go out with children and do some sports or some activities outdoors. And in this instance, you'll be using a bit more of your psychic muscles. You'll need to be kind of wrestling with puzzlers and adventure games in order to outsmart your kids, because guess what? They always will be faster than you. They always will know better because they're growing up with that technology, and they'll be miles ahead from everyone. So the games offered by Xbox Game Pass at the moment comprise quite a variety of different types of titles, and there's quite a selection of different genres. So we'll start with Astroneer. Then you have Banjo-Kazooie. Banjo-Kazooie, a wonderful game. I played it quite a bit, and I guess very similar to Super Lucky. It's the same sort of thing. The characters from animated films, and very, very funny and thoroughly entertaining. And then you have Banjo-Tooie. You've got Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie. A Bridge Constructor Portal. Kato, City Skylines Xbox One Edition, so you can be building cities and experimenting with, you know, architecture. Cluster Truck, that's also quite interesting. Cricket 19, for anyone who's a fan of cricket. Descenders, we had it here on the channel. This is the extreme sports game with cyclists. Dirt 5, again, a game when you're going to be driving. But the one I highly recommend to everyone is Drake Hollow. And you got lost really in between all the titles they introduced, but Drake Hollow is a terrific family-friendly game, and it's very, very funny. And I guess the other game that's quite similar, but does have the same aura, is Grounded, also a game that would have come to us from Obsidian. But Drake Hollow is, you know, just the very best. This sort of lovely fighting stroke RPG type of title in which you play a small girl who needs to be gathering various items in the woods in order to provide safety for other participants and other citizens. And beautifully told story and lovable characters and great animation, and you know, everything is as it should be. So for myself, that's really Gaming Dialogue recommends Drake Hollow. Forza Horizon 4 Standard Edition, familiar. Forza Motorsport as well. Gato, Roboto, Goat Simulator. I've never played Goat Simulator. I wonder what you need to do in there. Golf with Friends, Human Fall Flat. Human Fall Flat's quite a good game. Played it a bit. Jetpack Refueled, Levelhead, Madden. Madden's a very, very popular NFL 20 game. Moving out, NBA 2K21. New Super Lucky Tale. Well, that is the game I can really recommend to everyone, and I'm playing it at the moment, really enjoying it, and it has loads of lovable characters, very similar to all the other games of that type. But you have plenty to do, and you have plenty of items to collect, and have a lot of fun. So I think you want to do it together with your kids, that's probably one of the very best. And then in addition to Lucky, Ori, and that's both games, Ori and the Blind Forest Definitive Edition, as well as Will of the Wisps. These are very, very beautiful platformers that you really want to be doing with your children. Overcooked as well, very, very good one. That's for the whole family, mums and dads included, and you're going to be cooking together with your children. Pikuniku, a very, very enjoyable old-style game. And Planet Coaster Console Edition, Slime Rancher, Terraria. Terraria is a very good one as well. The Gardens Between, The Little Acres, The Sims, of course. Who wouldn't remember The Sims? Totally Reliable Delivery Service. Well, if you are intending to become a driver who's going to be dispatching Amazon products or working for any of the other big global companies, well, this is a game that's going to be providing you with some tips and tricks, so definitely worth checking. Train Sim World, another simulation. Unravel 2, highly recommended. And Viva Pinata 1 and 2, and then Wilmot's Warehouse. So all the games here are very, very family friendly, and as I said, Overcooked and Sea of Thieves and Banjo-Kazooie and Drake Hollow in particular, as well as Ori, will give you the very, very best type of activity which you can have with everyone involved. So if you had any visitors, or if you want to do it together with your children, well, these are the games you definitely want to be doing. So my recommendation, really, if I look at all the games included here, will be for Drake Hollow, and for Sea of Thieves, and for Super Lucky, and what was the other one? Let me see. Ori and, well, both games, Ori and the Blind Forest, as well as Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Alright, my friends, well, this was my Easter Monday, and these were my recommendations, so thank you very much for watching. Hope you all had a wonderful Easter. Another busy week is ahead of us, and we are all looking forward to all that is to follow. So certainly I'm looking forward to the vaccination program being accelerated in all of the countries on our planet, because I think we are not doing it fast enough, and for whatever reason there have been major delays on the continent. We just want everyone to be healthy, safe and well. So remember that. Have a great rest of your holidays and enjoy some of the wonderful games I suggested. And anyway, have a nice, easy rest of the holiday weekend. Maybe have a nice dinner and then play one of these wonderful games. You will not regret entering the world of Ori or Sea of Thieves or Drake Hollow or even Outriders or even any of the other ones I talked about. So on that note, I shall wish you all a very, very good night and shall see you all tomorrow.